my dears, it's Katie, and I'm here today to reorganize my bookshelves. I know I just put them up in August, but I am in desperate need of doing a reorganization, and I'm also going to probably do an unhaul at the end because there are a few things that I may have reconsidered keeping from my 18-box unhaul adventure. So I'm going to do that real quick, and then I will check in with you guys as I progress. So I've got all of my books in a pile, in piles on the floor. Shelves are empty and shelves are dusted. Let's get to work. So I finished reorganizing my shelves. Not sure how I feel about it yet, but I feel pretty good about the smaller shelf. It's this one that I'm not so sure how I feel about. But I'll give you a brief little walkthrough, and then I'll do my quick unhaul. So this top shelf here, or this top cube here, are all of my special edition books. Then I have all of my Harry Potter books here. I somehow magically got them to fit all on one. I don't know how, but I did. This shelf down here is a continuation of, quote, special editions, but then it also is just kind of the rest of my Harry Potter books. Then this is books about Tolkien and Middle-earth and mythology. Up here are books written by Tolkien, C.S. Lewis books, primarily the Chronicles of Narnia, and Norse sagas and things. Then down here are my favorite children's books. So as you can see, the entire Magic Treehouse series, or at least the books that I have, as well as My Father's Dragon and the BFG. Then I've got my small fantasy shelf and my RPG mug, of course. Then down here is my books I'm giving a second chance to shelf, or books I want to reread shelf, I guess I should say. I'm unsure about how I want to handle the inheritance cycle, but Artemis Fowl, so at least those three, because they're the only three I've got, are ones that I want to reread. And then I've got my, or one of my many bookmark containers. Now coming over to the big shelf, I have my Dan Brown shelf, as well as kind of art history or historical books that deal with art, I guess you could say, because Leonardo da Vinci, that's his biography, and then the Cosimo de' Medici and the Florentine Renaissance is a lot about Cosimo's patronage. Then I have Michelangelo and the Pope's Ceiling, images of plague and pestilence, and then that's an illustrated Dante's Divine Comedy book thingy. Then down here are kind of, I don't know what to call them. They're technically, quote, classical canon books, but at the same time they're like primary source documents slash historical records from the time period. So I guess it's classics and primary source documents of a sort, because Lives of the Artists, for instance, and the Anglo-Saxon World are both kind of, I don't know, they're complicated to explain. This shelf on the bottom, or right next to it, is kind of a classics continued shelf, and I tried to put them in a special order, but I'm not sure it worked out the way I wanted it to. Above that are children's classics that mean a lot to me, or just children's books that mean a lot to me. I kind of put them in an order that made sense to me, but at the same time, it's not really any special order. Next cube is my historical fiction slash mystery-ish books. I don't have a lot of them because I'm not sure if I'm going to keep them, but some I've already read. Like, I've read these three, and this one. Haven't read these two, haven't read these two. So we'll see how I feel when I get to them. Then this next shelf down here is kind of a weird mishmash that I tried to make sense to me. So these first three here are important family books, kind of, or books about my heritage background, at least these two in part. And then this one I got from my grandma because I actually stole it from her, or she gave it to me, and whatever. It's whatever. Then the next part of the shelf, starting with Tesla, going all the way to the end, are kind of like nonfiction books that are kind of put in a historical sequency order thingy. So yeah, we'll see. I don't even know what they are. Then this shelf up here are the first half of the butterfly bookend are just important books that I read a lot as a kid, whether it was at my grandma's house or that I got, and I was just obsessed with reading over and over again. Then the other half are kind of keepsake books that I got when I was a kid that kind of have a special meaning in one way or another, or books that I read with my mom before bedtime sometimes. So yeah, that one's just kind of an interesting mishmash of stuff. Then on the bottom we have, okay, so the first part, so from Greece Economides all the way up to Botticelli, are the books that don't have ISBN numbers, and I can't scan into my app. So that's how I'm differentiating, kind of keeping track of that section. Then the other half, from mammals all the way up to the bound report with the red ribbons, are kind of keepsake books or reference books of a sort. So I have the first 4 books, so from mammals to human body, are my kind of sciencey referencey books or natural sciences. And then of course I have my 2 Harry Potter reference books, Bones reference books, Lord of the Rings visual companions, 2006 World Cup, Street Through Time, and then I have my Middle Ages report. And then up top, up here, I have my holiday books. These are by no means all of them. I'm probably going to do a walkthrough of all of the holiday books that I have when they come out later on this week, but this video will probably go up after that. So that's how I'm doing that. So I've got Halloween first, and then I have Thanksgiving, and then I have the beginnings of winter/Christmas. So just to give you a brief look, you can see they look a bit different, but not too much. As I said, I'm really satisfied with the smaller shelf, but the bigger shelf just seems to be a bit messier to me, at least in my mind, so I might monkey around with that. You guys will probably see another reorganization video from me in the future, because I do reorganize my shelves fairly often, just whenever I get stressed out or am overwhelmed by stuff. I don't know, I just find this is a good way to calm me down. Not the worst thing in the world, I suppose. But anyway, these are the only 2 shelves that I decided to reorganize. My Books of My Heart and Soul shelf is still the way it is. And then I'm not doing anything with that reference shelf. It's just staying that way. And then, of course, I left my mom's shelf alone. I have to actually talk to her and ask her if she wants to do any unhauling before the end of the year. She'll probably say no, but you never know. So, now I'm getting onto the unhaul/maybe pile. So, sorry about the weird angle. My tripod is kind of on its last legs. I'm probably going to ask for a new one or get a new one at some point. But for now, I got my phone up because it is just angry. So anyway, I'm doing a smallish unhaul for you guys. You might be surprised by some of these books that I'm unhauling. And then I have my maybe pile, which you will be probably very surprised by, but I'm gonna just wait for my explanations and then we will go from there. So the first book that I'm unhauling is Silent in the Sanctuary by Diana Rayburn. I haven't read the first book in this series yet, and I'm kind of going on this kick where I don't necessarily want to have the second book of a series until I've read the first, because if I don't like it, then I'll just have this extra book and then it'll just be there. Good thing about this book, I got it for free at one of my local train stations. We have this kind of like indoor hut-like place, and there are a lot of books in there that people can just swap in and out as they're traveling. So I picked this one up at my train station a couple of years ago, and it's just been sitting on my shelf. I do have the first one, not in physical copy. I have it in ebook, but I'm not sure if I'm going to like it. And if I don't like it, then why do I want to have this? I might let it sit until I officially read the first book, but until then, I'm probably just going to say that this is going to go into my unhaul at later date pile. This next one is going to definitely surprise you guys, and that is Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. Literally the only reason I'm unhauling this is because I literally have all of Brandon Sanderson's books on ebook. I don't need the physical copy as well as the ebook, and because it is first and foremost a mass market paperback, which I do not like, the print is super tiny, and I have it on ebook to reread at any time I want. I don't know if I want to keep the physical copy, so this one is going to go away. Now, these next three are ones that you guys may or may not be surprised by, depending on if you saw my poll on Twitter or not. But that is His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman. This trilogy consists of The Golden Compass, The Subtle Knife, and The Amber Spyglass. This one kind of hurts a little bit, actually. I absolutely adored The Golden Compass as a kid. I distinctly remember reading it and really loving it. But then I got super bored in the middle of The Subtle Knife, and I never continued on. And a lot of people around me were reading these books, and my mom read them, and a lot of people told me about specific things that happened in both The Subtle Knife and The Amber Spyglass, and I'm like, am I actually interested anymore? And then I just never picked them back up. I've always wanted to consider giving these a second try, but I've had a couple of people over the last couple of years, or the last year, I guess I should say, reread them, and they did not like them as much as when they were a kid. And I asked them for their legitimate opinion on whether I should reread them or not. And ultimately, it came down to that probably you won't like them. I put a poll up on Twitter asking if I should give these a second chance. The majority of people said no. So while I'm slightly on the fence about getting rid of these, if pretty much everyone out there is telling me it's a waste of my time, I'm less inclined to do it, as much as it pains me, because I definitely did enjoy The Golden Compass. So I don't know. I might consider rereading the first book just to see how I feel, and if I don't like it, then unhauling it all. But I don't know. I'm really torn on this one, even though I have very little to no desire to pick this up. So I don't know. Is it worth it to keep or not? I think another reason I've hung on to these for so long is just because of nostalgia, because I did like the first one, but then I never got into the others. So I'm not sure if this is something that I want to keep or not, but for now, it's going to go into my unhaul pile. The next one I got as a gift, and it's just really not my thing, and that is What's True About You, Life-Changing Reminders of Who God Says You Are by Holly Girth. I got this as a gift from somebody after I passed the bar. I'm probably never going to read it. And while I feel bad about it because, it was a gift and it is, a pretty book, I don't want it to just sit on my shelf and just while away without being read by somebody. The only problem I have is it was inscribed to me, so I have to figure out how to handle that, but I'm probably not going to keep this one. Then the next book that I'm unhauling is The Door on the Wall by Marguerite D'Angeli. I've had this book for a while. I think I got it at a fair of some kind, or just like a book sale or something like that. And it's literally been on my shelf for like 10, 11 years without having been read. I just read this a couple of weeks ago and I did enjoy it, but I don't know if I will reread it. And I'm being a little bit more relentless, I guess you could say, with what I keep on my shelves. I really only want to keep things that I know I will either reread or that I just want to be there. And while my shelves are under reconstruction a little bit regarding the things that I want to keep and the things that I don't, for now, this one just doesn't seem to make the cut, even though I did really enjoy it and I would recommend it to people. I just don't know if it's something that I will reread in the future. And the last one that is a for sure unhaul probably is Robin Hood by Howard Pyle. This edition is absolutely stunning, and I know the tale of Robin Hood very well, and it's one that I really enjoy. But like The Door on the Wall, I don't know if I'm ever going to reread this. And that's literally all there is to it. I mean, I love the legend, I love the tale, I love the story, but if it's not something that I'm going to reread or something that I'm just going to enjoy having on my shelf, I'd rather not keep it, if that makes sense. Yeah, this is another one of those books that was on my shelf for like 11 years or something insane, and I think I picked it up and then I started it, but I never finished it, and then this time I read it the whole way through a couple weeks ago. And as I said, I did enjoy it, but I just don't know if it's something that I'm going to reread. I've got a couple of books that are kind of my maybe unhaul, and I know that probably all of these are going to surprise you, but hear me out. So the first one that I'm thinking about unhauling is the Sherlock Holmes Handbook, The Methods and Mysteries of the World's Greatest Detective. I am very well versed in Sherlock Holmes' world. I've never read this book, but a lot of it is stuff that I feel like I've learned over the years. Like, all the chapters are literally, let's see, there are different parts of the book. So there's detective skills, survival skills, life skills, and then an appendix. And like just kind of quickly scanning the subparts to each of those parts. They're things that I don't necessarily know if I need to read about, but at the same time, I would like to know what Riggs's take on all of it is. So, I mean, I might keep it and then unhaul it, but I don't know. Also, I just love this cover and I love this edition and I love this size. It is like my ideal book, right? But I'm not sure if it's one that I want to keep or not. So it's going in that maybe pile. I mean, kind of all of these are in a maybe pile if I'm really sitting here and thinking about it. But I guess the maybe pile is more of a spectrum, with the ones that I mentioned prior to this being higher likelihood of getting rid of, and then this is a little bit lower likelihood of getting rid of. I don't know. We'll see what happens. And then these next three will probably be a surprise to every single one of you. But I have a reason for doing this. So I am planning on maybe unhauling Emma, Persuasion, and Pride and Prejudice, all by Jane Austen. You're probably like, Katie, what are you doing? You like Austen, and
I've heard you talk about it on your channel before. You like Austen, you like her works. What are you doing? What I'm doing is hopefully getting a bind up of all of her novels for Christmas. I asked for the special edition Barnes & Noble 7-novel bind up thingy because of the read along that is happening next year. I'm actually one of the hosts or co-hosts or guests, I guess you could say, for the read along of Sense and Sensibility, which is one of the novels I haven't read yet. And I want to read along with all of the other ones that I haven't read. I have only read these 3. Want to get through Jane Austen. Jane Austen novels, all of them have been on my TBR since high school. And I've only managed to get through 3 at this point. I've been kind of doing 1 a year, but I am majorly in need of a reread of Pride and Prejudice. I figure that if I can get that bind up, it would just take up less room on my shelves rather than just this, that it would be a bit better, but we'll see what happens. I'm hoping, but some of you guys know the situation of the physical books situation in this house. So if I get that, then I will be unhauling these, but if I don't, then I'll probably keep them until I can get myself a copy, if that makes sense. Great. Okay, so those are all of the books that I'm planning on unhauling / putting in my maybe pile. We'll see what happens to them, and there might be more unhaul things in the future, and then I'll just be like, hey, remember those 3 different unhauls that I did over the last couple of months? Yeah, well, I finally just took them to wherever I'm going to take them. That's all I've got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed my sort of reorganization and then my slight unhaul maybe pile thingy. And let me know if you guys are surprised by any of these. And maybe if you were so inclined, try and convince me to keep 1 or 2 of them. Other than that, you guys know the drill. I have all of my social media links down below in the description. I have a Twitter, which is @ASeaOfTomes, which is the same as my handle here. And I also have a Goodreads, which is also linked down below. You guys can go over there and follow me and see what I'm reading, track my progress, see my general superficial thoughts on things before I come and scream at you about them over here. And then I also have my Ships and Fandoms page linked down below for your viewing pleasure. But other than that, I'll catch you later in another video for you guys again soon. Bye!